Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. So first up, Ray for Tesla shared the number of Tesla service centers in China has officially exceeded 100, a major milestone. And to give you guys some context, right now there's probably around 150 to 175 service centers in the United States, adding about 50 per year. Alex shared some information on European battery electric vehicle registrations year to date for 2021, sources from 11 countries, and that is the source. As you can see, the Tesla Model 3 is now leading the way. The Renault Zoe is in second at 17,400, and then you can see Volkswagen locks down places 3, 4, and 5. So if you're looking for the best-selling brand in the EU, then that would be Volkswagen with over about 45,000 sales year to date. But as we know, Tesla is only exporting the Model 3. Potentially the Model Y will begin exports in Q3 of this year. But what we're really waiting for is Giga Berlin to be up and running, and then we'll see how these numbers shake out. And this is one of those charts that our buddy Gordon Johnson probably hates to see. You can be sure that he's going to be studying this data to try to twist it in some way to say that there's still no demand. Tesla has been granted a new patent for enhanced crash performance. Now, the details of this are super complex and way beyond my depth. As you can see in the abstract, we're already talking about 4 hollow isosceles trapezoidal prisms, but I'll give you what you need to know. So first up, these thin-walled structures that will be referred to are otherwise known as a crash can. Crash cans of a vehicle absorb energy upon impact in an efficient way. Typically, right now, these crash cans are metal structures at the front of the frame with which to absorb the energy of an impact. Typically a square single-cell tube directly mounted to the front of the frame of the vehicle. But Tesla's idea is a multi-cell structure provided which may increase energy absorption by the crash can if involved in a collision, reducing the energy transfer to a vehicle frame and the occupants therein. And 2 big points here. 1, Tesla continually iterates and improves on almost everything that you can think of. And 2, Teslas are arguably the safest vehicles on the planet. I personally still think this is so undersold and overlooked by so many people. Of course, the technology and the speed and all of that gets the headlines, but the safety of Teslas should matter to far more people. Even simple things like the frunk and not having an engine to provide a larger crumple zone before the driver or passenger would be in danger, and all of these little innovations that aren't going to get any headlines. If you want to keep your family as safe as possible in the event of an accident, you should be considering a Tesla. And just today, Sandy Munro announced his plans for the Plaid Model S, and this is the man that we need to get his hands on a new Plaid Model S as soon as possible so we can learn more about the battery cells and the pack and the carbon sleeves and everything that we all have questions about.
Price tag for us is a little stiff right now, so we have come up with the bumper sticker plan. So for $13, you can get one of these. We're hoping that about 10,000 of you will actually want to buy one of these things. And with that money, then we can say, okay, you guys have put in $130,000 for us to buy the car, and I'll pony up the $750,000 that it's going to take to analyze it and get it out to you so you can see how and what's going on inside the Tesla Plaid.
So the original video is linked below. If you have the $13 to spare, go ahead and grab a sticker so we can learn more about the Plaid Model S. And now that we have at least a few of these Yoke steering wheels out in the wild, some videos have surfaced that I think are important to watch and discuss the pros and cons.
On a traffic circle, which some of you asked about.
One thing to keep an eye on is the radius when he's turning the wheel.
Play in the parking lot a little bit. So let's see, U-turn. Let's go around in a circle for a little bit. Maybe do a figure 8.
So as you can see, we're talking a pretty wide steering angle. I think a lot of people were expecting, tighter steering and having to turn the wheel less to actually make a turn. But there is some good news here. If you pull up the manual, you can see that the steering type is a variable ratio rack and pinion with electronic power steering, which is speed sensitive. So speed sensitive means at lower speeds, there's going to be basically more assistance when turning the wheel so it feels easier. And at higher speeds, there will be less assistance because basically all you need to do is change lanes if you're at high speeds on the highway. And the hope is that in the future, you can actually adjust the sensitivity settings with the software, so we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. But the main argument people are making is, does this really have any benefit? Well, in my opinion, first and foremost, it is right here to see this screen without any top steering wheel obstruction. Now, yes, it's going to take everybody some getting used to. It may add some risk initially in the event of an emergency where you go to grab for the wheel and a piece isn't there. But I also have a business venture if anybody wants to go in on it. Somebody just needs to make something that essentially clamps on the top of that wheel, which it might be difficult to do, but an aftermarket accessory is probably going to be an option. People also argue that Tesla should just offer a regular wheel and the yoke, which I don't think they'll do, just to keep manufacturing as streamlined as possible. And of course, one more pro yoke argument is that eventually the plan is to have this steering wheel either retract into the dash or of course not be there at all, but not having that top steering wheel would make it easier to basically retract into the dash and be less visible when full autonomy or closer to full autonomy actually arrives. But as always, let me know what you guys think below. And people are also wondering if we're going to see the yoke on the 3 and Y. I would say probably no, just because there's no front binnacle dash right here, the second screen on the 3 or Y, which is probably one of the main reasons, if not, like I said, being retractable. So only time will tell. But I want to show you the rest of this clip with audio as he tries to reverse and park.
So I'm guessing this is how you do this. I guess it doesn't automatically go into reverse. My understanding was the car would just intuitively know if you wanted to go backwards or forward. It was what I thought I read or heard Elon say, but I guess I do this. I slide this backwards. And then I'm in reverse. And backing into the shop.
And like Elon said at the event, of course, the learning of the shift situation is going to take some time. It's not going to be perfect out of the gate, but that brings us to a very popular post on Reddit today. So this is the Tesla Motors Club forum, and this post just 21 hours ago has already received almost 7,000 upvotes. If you're not familiar, it's a lot. Basically, the post is talking about how Tesla is being dishonest with certain features and promises and using wording that can be very misleading. Specifically, they talk about 0 to 60 times in the long range versus the Plaid and how the numbers were kind of manipulated, with the Plaid numbers having a 1 foot rolling start, which, by the way, to my understanding, most 0 to 60 times are quoted with that. But they also talked about the screen tilt feature, which as of now is not yet available. The car shifting by itself, as you can see in that video we just watched, it's not 100% functional. The gaming capabilities, they talked about Cyberpunk and Witcher 3, which once again are not yet available. And of course the Plaid Plus cancellation. It's really just a matter of patience and expectations. If you don't have patience and you're expecting everything Tesla says to be ready right off the bat, you will end up disappointed. Now, if you're a more patient person and you understand how tech works and you understand marketing and all of that, you're gonna have a little bit more patience when it comes to Tesla mentioning features that might not be available the second they first mention them. But the problem here is I can very easily argue both sides. I can absolutely understand frustration, the main one being the full self-driving, because people are spending thousands of dollars for a feature that has been overpromised really for years now. And yes, I know that the argument is buy it while it's cheap, because when they solve for autonomy, it's gonna cost, upwards of $50,000, if not more, but that's still a major TBD. So really, I wanna hear from you guys. Do you think that Tesla needs to slow down with their promising and get more to under-promise and overperform, or they're fine how they're operating now? This was a quick video shared by a whole Mars catalog on Twitter, how you can now move the icons around the screen, and the number one complaint was that that these icons look super dated and they don't go with the new UI. I don't know, what do you guys think? This is actually a really important tweet, and I'll tell you why. The Refresh S and X has one of the most comfortable seats I've ever sat in. They're so supportive and cushy, I could sit for hours without any issues. Now, of course, this is just one anecdote, but if you remember, the seats in the old S and X were terrible according to many people. Maybe not terrible, but they really weren't nice considering it was supposed to be a luxury vehicle. The seats in the Model 3, however, were excellent by general consensus. So now it seems as though the new S seats are more like the 3 and probably even a little bit better, which obviously is a very important thing, especially in a luxury vehicle. But that's all for today, guys. Please take a second to like this video if you did. I hope you have a wonderful day, and a big thank you to everybody on the next screen.